Hey guys, it's Don. Right now, I'm sitting back, chilling, enjoying some more JOJO'S Bizarre Adventure. I'm watching JOJO, I'm catching up for an upcoming recording me and the Catface Killer are going to be doing shortly. So, over the past couple of months, people have enjoyed our JOJO coverage, and I keep getting these messages every once in a while talking about, oh, you guys don't like Fist of the North Star? You like JOJO, but you never spoke about Fist of the North Star? I'm like, what are you guys talking about? We did a whole 2-hour podcast about how much we love Fist of the North Star, going through the whole franchise. So I go back on the YouTube channel to check out the video, and guess what? YouTube fucking blocked the video almost worldwide for almost 2 years, and they didn't notify me. So all this time, that beautiful podcast was basically banned to the audience, and that really pisses me off, guys, because we really enjoyed that podcast. So I don't want you guys to think I don't love Fist. I love Fist more than most people. You guys don't know how much effort we put into that podcast. But anyway, guys, I'm bringing the podcast back. I've re-edited it, and I've edited out the clip that got us the content copyright ban, but I'm going to use another clip. Hopefully we don't get banned. So guys, if you're a fan of Fist of the North Star, this podcast, me and Nuance did it a couple years ago. We go in detail on almost the whole franchise. And since that was a couple years old, I guess there's been a few developments with the franchise, Fist of the North Star. Like they made 2 of those chibi series. I think it was called Fist of the North Star Double D, which is just comedy fun. And there's some more video games and all that. The franchise is, I don't want to say it's dead, but it's dormant right now. And I still want to see either a prequel series of Ryuken, before the Holocaust, or maybe Ken as a new master. But maybe we'll do that in the future when there's another series out, because I do want this franchise to continue in a different vein, not a retread. But anyway, that's enough of that, guys. Check out this podcast. I do apologize for the audio quality, which is a bit iffy, but I could not let this one go. I re-edited it for your listening pleasure, and you're about to see just how much fans of Fist of the North Star we are. What can I say, man? We've been looking to do this for a very long time, man, this podcast.
Too long.
And we're going to talk about the whole franchise in its entirety to the best of our ability, because although me and you both love this franchise, we're not professional otakus on it. We don't know every little detail, but we're going to try our best to do this series justice, because it deserves to be... It's fundamental. It's a fundamental anime shonen series, an anime series, a manga series, and it deserves a lot of praise to this day. And it's still a big trend, in the anime community and somewhat in pop culture anyway.
Yo, man, we're Tyro, so we're going to give it our Tyro best.
Right, before we start, though, I have to say, although I'm happy you like the series, I'm not trying to bring sex into this. I am a little bit surprised I got you, Nuance, on this particular episode, because, this is the manliest of manly anime. The testosterone level is at all-time high. There's hardly any women in this anime. It's all about violence. It's all about blood. It's just... Ugh! And, I'm not just being sexist, but if I remember correctly, didn't this anime used to scare you?
Yes, this is like one of the first animes I believe that I watched. And my older brother got me into anime. And when it comes to anime in my house, when I was growing up, it had nothing to do with male or female. You had to watch it or you're going to get punched in the arm or something. So this was one of the first ones I watched. I think it was the same time the 2 most popular animes at that time, I believe, that everybody was talking about in London was Fist of the North Star and Legend of the Overfiend. Those were the two ones when I was going to school people were talking about. And
really?
So, yeah, I'm serious.
Legend of the Overfiend?
It's a dirty little secret, isn't it? People be like, oh, have you seen Legend of the Overfiend? Oh, like, oh,
Your school's crazy. Didn't you go to all-girls school?
What's that got to do with anything? anything.
Wow, boys, I can just tell the frustration going on there. But yeah, that's another story. We're getting a bit off topic.
Anyway, so I was introduced to anime watching Fist of the North Star, and the first time I watched it, it scared the crap out of me. I don't know if it scared me or if I was just shocked by the violence, but not in that way of just seeing someone get punched in the face. It's just like the way, I know we're going to talk about the animation later, but just the way that it was drawn, and the fact that the way that the heads exploded and the blood just spurted out in ribbons and things like that, and the picture was slightly just seemed to be even more distorted when that happened. So considering it's the first time I watched it, but saying all that, and the fact that, my brother like glued my eyeballs, pressed my face to the screen to watch it, the storyline and the characters are great.
So you say nuance, but there's a couple of haters of this franchise, I do agree with you, but I know there's a couple of haters, and we'll get into that. For the last 20 years or so, this anime has not been, you haven't been able to get the TV series on DVD. And now, thanks to, Eastern Star Distribution, you can finally get the box set of the whole series. I think it's like 110 episodes of TV series 1 and 2. They're reasonably priced, about $40 to $50, and you get 40 episodes per box set. So
pretty good.
And that happened, I think they just finished releasing that this year, finally, after all those years. Manga Entertainment released it earlier, but they didn't get to dub all of it. And just to be more specific for people who care, the release you can get now by Eastern Star Distribution is not actually dubbed, which is unfortunate. But
hold on a minute, not even the first section. Oh yeah, they wouldn't dub half quarter of it, would?
No. You're actually right. You can actually get the first part of it dubbed, but you can't get, I think the first 30 episodes or so.
Yeah, I think it's 30. I believe 30. Yeah.
Anyway, you want to say, let's start this podcast off, because we have to keep in mind, although Fist of the North Star is very popular anime, it's in pop culture, there might be some people that don't know what the hell Fist of the North Star is actually about. And this podcast, we're going to focus on the anime releases. Fist of the North Star is based on a manga that was released in 1983. We'll get into the details in a minute, but this podcast is going to focus on the anime releases. The bad news is, neither me and Nuance have read any of the manga.
No.
The good news is the anime releases are extremely faithful to the manga. So, the anime is pretty much a mirror image of the manga, given, bits here and there. So that's the good news. We're mostly anime guys here anyway. Catface does the manga stuff. Me and Nuance and some of the other guys, we do mostly anime stuff. So it's not terrible, isn't it, Nuance?
No, I don't think so. Hasn't Catface gone missing again? I'm sure I put posters up for him the other day.
I left a plate of milk out, and now he's been taking a couple of sips.
He's got some liquor in that milk.
Waste of money.
That's the reason why he doesn't want to stay.
So, okay, you want to say the crazy thing with the anime releases for Fist of the North Star is there are 4 TV series and about 7 different anime movies that focus on various parts of the manga. And like I said, we haven't read the manga. We're gonna focus on the anime, but the storyline for Fist of the North Star is a one-shot storyline. There's no parallel storylines. All of the anime focus on one story. So what we're going to do to avoid confusion, we're going to talk about the premise, because the premise is one premise for all the titles.
Apart from the movies.
There's a couple of sub-stories and side stories that are still part of the TV series. They're just, you just didn't get to see them in the TV series. Everything takes place in the same timeline. It's just that some of the TV series are, except for one, which is a prequel, which we'll get to as well. It's all inside everything's inside the TV series. Let's put it that way. All the anime releases are inside the TV series.
Indeed.
It's a tricky one, people, but we're gonna get through it. But just bear with us. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's start to attack this by let me give people some of the origins of Fist of the North Star.
You go right ahead.
I will, and then you can chime in whenever you feel necessary.
As always.
Fist of the North Star is a post-apocalyptic action drama that was first released as a manga created in 1980 by writer, let me see if I can pronounce this properly, one named Bro Wonson, and it was drawn by his good friend Tetsuo Ohara. The manga was extremely popular in Japan in the early 80s, and it was serialized in the very well-known Shonen Jump magazine. People, you should know Shonen Jump, the big three: One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. It was serialized in Shonen Jump in the early 80s for 5 years. So from 1983 to 1988, it was serialized. After the success of the manga, there was no doubt it was going to get an anime, and there was various anime adaptations, as we've said we're going to get into in a bit. And the anime adaptations, they started in 1984, and they've gone on all the way up until 2008. 30
That's
years.
sick. That's crazy.
Yeah, very popular. Since then, Vincent No Star has been fundamental anime, shonen anime in anime and manga for a lot of the tropes, a lot of the things they do. There's so many anime I can think of that bite off it. One anime in particular, do you remember Project Eiko?
Oh yeah, of course.
Project Eiko was like a female twist on Vincent No Star in a modern sci-fi setting. That's also one of the first animes that I ever saw as well.
Yeah, me too.
Very, very, I think it was early 90s or something. Fist of the North Star is a multi-layered story. It initially starts off as kind of a love revenge story, but then through flashbacks and a lot of exposition, you get a better understanding of the main character and a lot of the newer characters that's introduced. Let me give an analogy. Fist of the North Star is one of those stories where it's a story within a story. Let's take it's a story about me, Don Juan, and my girlfriend. Yeah. Now Catface steals my girlfriend, and I'm trying to find Catface to get my girlfriend back. Now on the way, I meet all these people. I meet Nuance Aid, and we go on these mini adventures, and I decide to help the people. So it initially starts as one storyline, but as the adventure goes on, all these other storylines get compacted into the story, and you get a lot of flashbacks and character development about Kenshiro himself, the people who grew up with, enemies, villains, minor characters, bigger characters, blah 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 blah. So yeah, it's kind of it seems it's one of those animes that at first it seems very predictable and very it's just a guy beating up people, but as the story progresses it becomes a little bit more complex and a little bit more in depth. And before we get to the premise, because we're giving you a lot of information beforehand, the major component that you need to understand that a lot of people already know that newcomers might or not already know, this is a shonen fighting anime, and it focuses on two major fighting styles. These two major fighting styles, all the characters you're going to meet, or 90% of them, are going to be either of one fighting style or the other. Hokuto Shinken and Nanto Seiken. This is a very integral part of the series, people. These two fighting styles. Agree, you want to say?
Agree, 100%.
Now, when you said you started watching Fist of the North Star, you want to say, you're talking about the movie, right?
I am talking about the movie.
Most people have seen the Fist of the North Star movie that was made in 1986, I believe, and it was widely released in 1994 or 1993. And when most people say, I've seen Fist of the North Star, that's what they've said they've seen, the movie. A lot of people haven't seen the TV series because, like I said in the beginning, it was never released until recently. You couldn't even get it, and you watched it online on Fansub, or you bought it illegally off eBay or some other site. So, or you could watch the first 36 episodes that were released up until 2006 or 7, I believe. I don't know. Yeah. So, like I said, the story to Fist of the North Star starts off very simply, and the movie is a very good start. I would say if you're going to start watching Fist of the North Star, watch the movie first, because that's where things start off very basically. After that, the TV series goes into much, much more depth. The movie is actually just a chopped up version of the TV.
And when you watch the series, you realise how chopped up it is, but it's still quite good. It's still good.
The movie is a good introduction. It just gets into it. It shows you the fighting styles, like I said, Nanto Seiken and Hokuto Shinken. It shows you the main villains and the brothers and stuff like that. So I'm gonna read the official premise now. I know I've been building up to this for a long time, people, but now you've got all the pieces. I've explained to you what all the pieces do. I'm gonna explain to you the basic storyline that was outlined in the movie that most of us have seen. Okay, you ready? Nuance?
I'm 100% ready.
Fist of the North Star. It's 1990X. The world has been stricken with a nuclear disaster, a world war.
a political world war that the story doesn't really establish why that actually happened. And Earth has become a complete wasteland. Our main protagonist, Kenshiro, is the sole successor to the deadliest fighting style on Earth called Hokuto Shinken, a form of martial art that focuses on vital human pressure points to cause fatal injuries. Since the world is more or less barren, Kenshiro and his fiancée Yuria are traveling the world, planting seeds and trying to help the Earth regrow to its former glory. The story takes a sharp turn when a close friend of Kenshiro's called Shin claims he is too weak to protect his beautiful fiancée and challenges him to fight for the right to keep her for himself. Shin is a practitioner of Nanto Seiken, the other fighting style I'll keep on mentioning, and somehow Shin manages to defeat Kenshiro. Now, even after Shin beats Kenshiro, Yuria, I call her Julia, I'll explain why later, Yuria still refuses to go with him. And because of this, we get probably the most iconic scene in the entire franchise. Let me stop there. Now, like I said before, this is like the initial setup for Fist of the North Star. When the movie starts, him and his wife are walking, trying to fix the Earth. His friend comes and they have a quick fight, and our main protagonist, is beaten.
Very quickly, by the way.
The next scene that happens, because after Kenshi's on the floor, the next scene that happens is so integral to the whole franchise. A clip from the movie for you guys to listen to what's happening. This is after Kenshiro's been beaten and Yuria refuses to go with Shin.
I've won, and you have lost. The question is, why? Because the power of your will has no ambition to feed it, nor the need to crush your enemy.
Oh no! Shin, at one time you were Ken's closest friend. He trusted and respected you. When you were chosen as Fist of the South Star, he was glad for you, glad for his friend's success. But you were never really his friend, were you?
Yes, I was. But then he left, and when he came back, he brought you. The first time I saw you, I knew you'd be mine someday, and that day has come. Believe me, I know how much you love Julia, but I'm certain that you want what's best for her.
Ken!
For instance, you want her to be safe, don't you? And look at how you've protected her. Under the circumstances, it's clear that she'll be safer with me.
I'll never be yours, Shin.
Julia, you're mine now.
Force is the only way you'll get me to leave him. But I won't ever go of my own free will.
Oh? Perhaps I can change your mind. Have you changed your mind yet? It's up to you, Julia. Does he live, or does he die? Say it, Julia. Speak and I'll stop. Just say you belong to me.
She knows I'd rather die than hear that, Shin. Just as I know that she'd rather die than say it.
If that's the way you want it, so be it! I hate to do this to an old friend, but I'm afraid you've left me no choice.
No more!
Say it.
No, Julia!
I'm yours, Shin.
Louder. Much louder. When you whisper like that, it's hard for me to believe that you're sincere, so say it again, but this time with feeling. Make me a believer. Julia?
Shin, I'm yours! I give myself to you with all my heart. Just don't hurt him again. It's over. You've won.
Did you hear what she just said, Ken? Fascinating, isn't it, how changeable women are? One minute they say they want you, and the next minute they say they want someone else. That's because they only want who they've got until someone better comes along. But of course, she is right. Julia is tremendously loyal to whomever is the strongest. And I'm afraid you just don't qualify.
Oh man, you know what, Nuance? There's so many things I could say about that scene. You know, that scene is from the movie, the English dub version of Fist of the North Star movie. First of all, the dialogue is hilarious.
So ridiculously funny.
Have the voice actor that plays Shin, but he's a complete fucking psycho, man.
I don't know what kind of love he's really after. You know, that's not really the way to woo a woman, really, is it?
Well, you know, the world that the Fist of the North Star set in is survival of the fittest.
Indeed, I get that, but still, you know.
And the thing is, when you're listening to that clip, people, if you don't know what's actually happening, because I know you hear a lot of sounds, and for people who haven't seen the movie, you don't know what's going on. Shin, the reason why the scene's so iconic, Shin is using his fingers and twisting his fingers into Kenshiro's chest. And he uses a finger, one finger at a time. Then he gets kind of fed up because Yuria still won't, say that she...
Yeah, because literally, as you've heard, all he wants is for Yuria to turn around and say that you love me and you want to be with me. And every time she refuses, he decides he's going to punish Kenshiro.
And then somewhere near the end, he gets tired of using one finger and he uses 4 fingers and sticks it right in his chest. When you see that in the animated movie, it's so graphic and hilarious. I'm sorry. I know it's evil for me to say that, people, but you know what? Let me play that scream again. This is the scream you hear when he puts those fingers in the chest. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't understand how you can call that hilarious. I nearly threw up on the floor. It was not hilarious to see that. And the animation, it's the way that the finger goes in, and then when the finger comes out, it looks like it's pulling some skin out with it, and the blood, and
it gives you a taste of how gratuitous. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, gratuitous. You're making me say it wrong now.
How vivid and detailed the war is in this anime.
Exactly.
Here's the thing I've never got about this series, and I know people that have already watched the movie right now just think this guy's going on and on, but the thing I just thought was really weird, the pattern that Shin has made in his body with his fingers is an iconic pattern. He's made the pattern of the constellation of the Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, he makes the pattern of the Big Dipper, yeah.
That's why that scene is so iconic, because from that point on in the franchise, whenever someone sees Kenshiro's chest and they see that pattern, that scar, they know who he is. Why would Shin do that on purpose?
It might even be a mockery, him even doing that. It might be even more shame to feel like if he had died from that, if you come along and you see the successor on the floor of Hokuto Shinken and he's got he's got the Big Dipper on his chest and he's dead, that would be freaking embarrassing.
It's kind of like beating a martial artist up with a sign of their dojo.
Exactly. So it's kind of, obviously, he was just having fun. But then again, you never know if those were pressure points as well that he was hitting.
No, I don't think so. Because non-toe Seiken doesn't use pressure points. It's a slicing technique. That's Hokuto Shinken.
Oh, yeah, because they're supposed to be the polar opposite of each other, aren't they?
We'll get into that in a bit. But let's just quickly move on, because this is the initial premise. After Shin has basically ripped Kenshiro's chest apart, they leave Kenshiro for dead. Now, there's another scene that happens when Kenshiro's on the floor. It's a bit of a spoiler. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna just fast forward and say somehow after that ordeal, Kenshiro comes back from that near-death experience. And this is basically the real beginning of the anime, because this is where Kenshiro's journey begins. His journey to get back his fiancée, to get Shin back for what he did to him. And, from Kenshiro's perspective, that's all he's doing. But the storyline, as he goes on this journey, that's where the story begins. He begins to meet other characters. He begins to travel the world or the land or whatever kind of land is set on. And he meets people and he gets to see oppression. He gets to meet people from his past. And the initial revenge theme starts to become more developed. with other subplots. And this is where you get other characters and other storylines, and that's where this shit really gets off. And my thing with Fist of the North Star is a lot of people, when you watch the movie, it doesn't go into any of this depth. It concentrates 75% on the revenge about Kenshiro getting Yuria back. At the end of that movie, it starts to go into the major plot of Fist of the North Star that's got to do with Kenshiro's brothers, but it ends on a cliffhanger. So that's all we're going to cover with the movie. The movie doesn't cover a lot. It's a very short, butchered version of the TV series. But it's a really, really fun movie, to be honest with you. I find it to be a fun movie.
Yeah, so I just want to add as well, when we were talking about the first fight between Shin and Kenshiro, I think one of the reasons, even though I said it was a short fight, I think one of the reasons why the fight was so short is because Hokuto Shinken and Nanto Seiken are not supposed to battle each other at all. And when they are just about to fight, Kenshiro says to them, we're not supposed to fight each other, because they're not supposed to fight each other at all, because they're obviously from two different things. They're not supposed to. So I think that's another reason why in that fight, when you watch it, you feel like, oh, how come Kenshiro gets beaten so quickly? I think his heart just wasn't in it. And I will say as well, and I know we're going to get into this later, you say that it's a revenge thing, but I don't really feel that Kenshiro is out for revenge. I just think he wants Julia back. Or Yuria back.
But he wants to kill Shin.
I don't believe that.
You don't think he wants to kill him?
No, I don't think so. I'll elaborate on that when we start talking about it later on, which might be a spoiler, but I don't actually think that he wants to kill Shin at all.
We will get into that later. I know why you said that, and I partly agree with you, but I'll get into why later. So now we've left the movie. Let's go into the TV series. The TV series, it starts off exactly the same as the movie. The same thing happens. Kenshiro fights Shin. Shin takes Yuria. Kenshiro's left for dead. Then for some magical reason, which is explained in one of the movies, Kenshiro comes back from his near-death experience to get Yuria back. But like I said, once he's on this journey to find Yuria, he meets characters like, let's name some of them. I'll name some of them. Bart and Lin. Bart and Lin are like the two sub-characters. They're two children. I think they're both orphans, and they become, I don't know what to call them. They're not comic relief, but they're kind of like his handymen or something. You know, they're supporting characters.
They're just along for the ride. They become partly his family. You can't say not.
Yeah, they do. But, you know, Bart is definitely the comic relief. That little kid, the little thief. You know, really funny little kid. I like him. I really did like Bart in the series.
I think you were saying at the beginning of the TV series that it starts with the whole Shin and Kenshiro thing, but I don't remember it starting that way. I think all you see is Kenshiro walking through the desert to the town that is being ransacked or sacked by a group of thugs, and I think Lin is in that town, and that's how he meets them first of all. I think it starts like that. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it does.
You know what? Now that I think about it, actually, when the TV series does start, it does start out with Kenshiro in the desert, walking alone, and the thing with him and Shin had already happened, and they just flash back to it after the first 10 or so episodes. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so in regards to the two characters, Lin and Bat or Bart, we're going to have this thing with the names all the way through, aren't we? Like Yuria.
Let's explain that right now.
Okay, go ahead.
English language renamed the characters, but you know the thing I liked about them renaming them with Fist of the North Star in English, they only slightly changed them. Like you're saying, it was Bat, and it was Bat in Japanese, but in English they called him Bart, and in Japanese Kenshiro's fiance is called Yuria, but in English they changed it to Julia. Lin is always Lin though.
Yeah, it was tastefully done, if you ask me.
Yeah. And Kenshiro's always Kenshiro and actually all the other names are the same, but Bart and Yuria, we might change their names sometimes. So
yeah. So I just wanted to say the way that they meet is that the town that Lin is in, her town is getting ransacked by a bunch of hooligans, and I think it's one of the opening scenes where they've already slaughtered her family, and she's like, everybody's traumatized and stuff like that. And one of the main leader of the gang, has literally got Lin by the hair and he's about to kill her, I believe. And then Kenshiro comes in and...
Well, actually, for me to correct you, he's actually going to crush her. He's got her head in one hand and her legs in the other, and he's squeezing her together.
Oh, is he squeezing her? I thought he was... okay, cool.
He's trying to crush her.
Whichever way, it's bloody horrific, you know, to tell you the truth. So that's how it kind of starts. And then it works out that he saves Lin, and Bart is there also, and Lin doesn't talk, and he explains to her that due to the fact that she's been traumatized and seen her family being slaughtered and what the bandits have been doing in the town, because it's a dog eat dog world, basically only the strong survive, and obviously she's not strong, that she's become mute, and she hasn't got a voice, she doesn't talk at all. And then Ken helps her with that as well. So basically Lin starts to have an affiliation with Kenshiro. I don't actually believe that he wanted to take children or them along with him, but it just worked out that Lin didn't want to leave him, and Bart had a car, didn't he?
Bart knew his way around a lot of the places Kenshiro wanted to go.
Exactly.
He was like a pickpocket. He was actually a very useful character in my mind.
Oh yeah, he was, and very, very funny, because when we get into the characters more, you'll find that Kenshiro is not one of the most talkative characters, and Bart kind of makes up for that, because like when they run out of petrol, they're hungry. I'm hungry. Where's the petrol? Oh, what are we gonna do? He's always like voicing his opinions or how he feels, which makes it a little bit more comedic than just dealing with Ken.
Well, let's get into more of the meat of what the TV series is about. We're trying not to go into too many spoilers, but we have to go into them somewhat for you to understand, or because it's interesting. Now, Kenshiro, like I said, Fist No Star is a story that it starts to go in depth on itself. And one of the most interesting aspects of Fist No Star is Kenshiro has a very interesting backstory. Because one thing we glossed over, what I just said, was that he is the sole successor of his martial arts fighting style, which is Hokuto Shinken.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole procedure to becoming the successor of Hokuto Shinken. And basically, this leads into other characters, which are Kenshiro's brothers. I'm going to put hyphens on brothers, and, you guys, if you watch the series, you know why I did that. Now, basically, Kenshiro's brothers are people that he grew up with and was trained with, and they were basically all trained to be picked. One of them was to be picked to be the successor of Hokuto Shinken, because there can only be one successor. He was trained with 3 other brothers, Rao, Jackie, and Toki. Now, I want to single out Toki for a second and say, Toki is another character that was totally omitted from the movie, and he is an extremely crucial character. And after you watch a TV series, you understand why they took him out of the movie. I understand why they did that, because there's a lot to Toki. It's very, very long-winded, but part of me feels that they still could have used, I don't know.
I don't think they could have, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think I'm wishing upon a star. But yeah, I understand why Toki is not in. So when you watch the movie, you really don't know what the series is about. You really need to see this TV series. These 3 brothers, I want to go more into them nuance when we start talking about the different titles, because some of these other titles are all about the other brothers.
Yeah.
I just want to say that Kenshiro and his brothers were all trained in Hokuto Shinken, but Kenshiro was picked as a successor. Now, as the TV series progresses, his brothers come back into the story, and you get to see flashbacks of how they grew up and how they were trained. The original TV series does a good job of showing you Kenshiro's backstory, but other titles that are released later go into even more detail. But their brothers are a fundamental, maybe they are the core of what Fist No Star is about.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that. I think that I think it solidifies what power means, and having power, what it can do to you and to a world that doesn't have it. Yeah, so I would say, it's more about what happens after this whole atomic war, what's ever happened. So, yeah, they are a fundamental part, but it's also about how people get along, isn't it? And how life is after something like that happens, how the world manages.
Yeah, I'm just saying that their brothers are like one of the biggest parts of the whole series.
Well, two of them are definitely.
Yeah, yeah, two of them definitely are.
One has to 100% be omitted from that fact.
Let's talk about Shin and his fighting style a little bit. Shin's fighting style, like I said before, is Nanto Seiken, and I think that means Fist of the South Star.
Yeah, it does.
Because Hokuto Shinken is Fist of the North Star.
Yeah.
Fist of the North Star, there's only Kenshiro and his brothers. There's 4 of them. Nanto Seiken, wow, man, there's like 109 of them. That's how many different fighting styles of Nanto Seiken there are. In the series, there are so many fighters that use Nanto Seiken fighting style. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it's like a cheap fighting style, but most of the enemies you see in Fist of the North Star that go up against Kenshiro are using Nanto Seiken, and oh man, I don't know, man. There's like 30 of them.
Yeah, the problem with Nanto Seiken as well is that it seems to not only affect their fighting style, but their actual personalities as well.
Yeah.
It seems that all of them incorporate it, either whether they want to or not. To become a proper Nanto Seiken master, they have to incorporate it's really hard to explain.
Well, let's talk about some characters. I'll help you explain this.
Great.
In this movie, there's 2 major characters that use Nanto Seiken. The first is Shin, who defeats Kenshiro in the beginning, and the second is your favorite character in Fist of the North Star, which is Rei.
Yeah.
Rei uses his fingers like butter knives or something.
Yeah, they're like, he does this hand stabbing technique.
Slice?
Yeah.
You said stabbing.
Did I? Sorry, he does this slicing technique.
Yeah. It's like he draws these lines on people, and they just rip your body into pieces. It's truly gruesome. It's quite fun to watch, actually. And Nanto Seiken is like a slicing style. All of Nanto Seiken fighting styles seem to be a wind cutting kind of style.
Yeah.
They incorporate it into their personality. So Rei, not so much, to be honest with you. He's the only one that his hand movements looks like he's kind of dancing with his hands, kind of. But other characters, they use it like they're birds, like they're flying.
Yeah,
and shit.
I think I read somewhere that they're all based on birds in a sense, because I think it's their hands and they do fly kicks as well, don't they?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Some of them do use their feet. It's like a wind-based bird-type kind of martial arts, which is, when you first see it, it looks really lame, but some of the characters use it really well. Another one of your favorite characters, which we really don't want to go into much detail, is Shu. Shu is a blind protagonist. He's a blind character in Fist of the North Star, and he uses Nanto Seiken as well. I don't remember his fighting style because...
If I remember correctly, I think it's a flying kind of strike.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure he kind of flies. Actually, I'm sure it's a flying strike, because I don't want to spoil it, but if you remember how he gets done at the end...
Kind of remembering what you're talking about.
The real way he gets defeated, it shows that his style is more of a flying strike.
Yeah. I remember what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
And the person who he's fighting against is another really horrible character. His name is Holy Emperor Salfa.
Yes.
He is a CUNT, man. And I can't even get into his fighting style because a big part of it is a big spoiler. But a lot of the people don't know what we're talking about. And it's hard to talk about the characters because it would spoil a lot of the TV series. But my main thing is there's a lot of characters in Fist of the North Star. So many characters. Actually, I think this is one of the anime with the most amount of characters I've ever seen, really.
Hell yes. Yeah.
Unless I'm talking about a Gundam series.
Well, the thing is that we cannot go through all the characters, especially when you start talking about Nanto Seiken, because there's so many of them, like you said, and they use so many different techniques that it would be ridiculous for us to go through every single character that you meet, kind of thing. There's way too many of them, but the thing is that they're all significant within their own right, and maybe that's the reason why the series 1 especially, is so long.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nuance. we've tried our best to get through the initial explaining the character, explaining the premise, explaining the storyline. We're going to go through this more easier for us now, because we're going to go into the titles individually and talk about how we feel about them. But just before we do that, we're going to talk about the conception and what Boronson and Tetsuo Ohara was thinking when they were making Fist of the North Star. And, you know, when you look at Kenshiro as a character, Boronson and Tetsuo Ohara were saying their inspiration for him was Mad Max. They wanted a Mad Max themed anime, which is exactly what it is, post-apocalyptic kind of setting. But the character design, they wanted him to be a martial artist mixed with Mad Max. And when you look at Kenshiro, he does look like a mixture of Bruce Lee and Mad Max.
Indeed. I mean, the Bruce Lee comes through straight away, especially because he goes, ah, da, 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 and all the sounds he makes when he makes his moves, you can see that's like Bruce Lee, bam. And then when you look at the outfits and what they're wearing, you literally could not get more Mad Max. Even the vehicles they're driving is so Mad Max.
It's very biker. It's very, very biker.
Yeah, even the cars, the way they're open, everything about it it's very Thunderdome as well. So funny. But, you know, it's very, very, very Mad Max. So I think they hit that on point.
Well, they said that's exactly what inspired them. And it's great. It worked out really great. And that's why it's so popular. That's why it's such a popular anime series. So anyway, you want to say, we're going to get into the specific titles now.
Okay.
We'll talk about the titles. There's about, like I said, 7 movies and 4 TV series.
Yep.
And let's talk about them one by one. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
We already spoke about the movie, but let's just go over it one more time. Like I said, we're going to do this like back and forth. I'll give my thoughts, you give your thoughts, yeah?
Okay.
The movie, one of the first animes I ever saw. The animation, you know, they're drawn like these big muscular men, and, you know, it's just crazy. Even today, when you see anime, they don't draw characters like that. When you look at something like Dragon Ball Z, characters look more in proportion. All the characters in Fist of the North Star look like the same kind of build. It's really crazy. So when I saw that, and when you see them getting killed, sliced and fucked up, it's insane. That's all the movie was. It was like a guilty pleasure to me. I was young. When I first saw it, it was 1994? 3 maybe? And I just saw these big men getting sliced, getting their heads exploded, getting ripped apart. And I'd never seen violence on that level before. It was the most violent thing I'd ever seen. It was crazy. The storyline didn't make any sense to me, and it didn't resolve. The movie I'm talking about didn't end anyway. So I just constantly always thought, what the hell was this? But the English dub was fantastic. I love the dub, as I've put in the clip already. I love the movie. It's a classic movie. It's like a guilty pleasure now, because, you know, after you see the TV series, it really is just it kind of loses a lot of its substance for me in terms of story wise, and it just becomes like a gore fest. So yeah, the movie is just fun.
Yeah, like I said, I watched it when I was young too. It had a sounding effect on me, and it took me a long time to watch the series, because I still feel that, looking at the way that it was drawn even now, I still find it very, very graphic. You know, there's one scene in particular I have to talk about where Kenshiro, I think he hits some guy on the head, and then the head kind of explodes, but then the eyeball comes out, and it all comes out in kind of slow motion. Then the teeth come out. I mean, it's freaking graphic. Never seen anything more graphic than that, really, especially back in the early 90s when I watched it. In regards to the storyline, it was fine for what it was, but really you were watching it more for the shock value than for the storyline. And then after you kind of watch the series, you see that there's big gaps, and you want to actually understand how this happened or how that happened. And even though that kind of gets fulfilled in the series, in the movie, obviously those gaps are there. I'm not going to lie, I didn't necessarily like the ending, but then I guess it is very 80s kind of thing, the actual ending. But I still think it was really, really good. I have watched it again since. It's definitely a really, really good movie, definitely. And in regards to what you were saying about the way that it was drawn, yeah, all of the characters looked like beefcakes. You know, they had this, the way that they're drawn is all the same. All the females are drawn the same, even though you don't get to see many females in the movie. And you definitely get to see who the protagonists are and the antagonists are. You definitely get to see that straight away. Yeah, but it was a good movie, and I did like it. It scared the hell out of me, but it got me into anime, that's for sure. And yeah, great movie.
Did this really help you get into anime though?
Yeah, it did.
This violent anime,
Yeah, it
really?
did. I know you always think it's a bit of a shock that I say that, but it kind of did, because I'd never seen anything like that before. Do you see what I mean? Like, when we were growing up, my brother used to let us watch Dracula and all them kind of things, and I'm not a horror person anyway, but I had never seen anything like this before in animation.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So it brought a whole new level for me. It just brought a whole different level, different dimension to animation, because we watch cartoons and things like that for ages, you know, but I'd never seen anything like that before, and I cannot say this is not one of the things that did make me more open to watching anime. And whether I liked it or not, I was going to watch anime, because if I didn't watch anime, I probably would have got punched in my eye, but I'm happy about that now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely.
You got some crazy upbringing, boy. Yeah, so let's move on to the TV series. Now this is interesting, because I want to bring up something in my past a bit. When I was younger, I used to read this magazine released by Manga Entertainment called Manga Mania. And in Manga Mania, they would always talk about Fist of the North Star 2. And after I saw the movie, I'm like, Fist of the North Star 2? Yeah, can't wait to see that movie. And I never ever saw no Fist of the North Star 2 movie. So I thought it was a lie. Little did I know what Manga Mania, the magazine, was talking about was the TV series, the second part of the TV series, which is called Fist of the North Star 2, which is confusing. So I just thought that was interesting to bring up. There is no Fist of the North Star 2 movie. The original TV series is a weird story for me, because I first saw it in 1999 in English dub. It used to come on a British channel called Channel 4 late at night when I was still in high school, secondary school, whatever you want to call it. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't believe they made a TV series of this. This is so violent. This is so crazy. One of my favorite anime movies. There's a TV series of it, and it's in English. Ah, man, I was in heaven, man. And the English dub was again hilarious. It was just another guilty pleasure anime. It was just like the movie. What I didn't like about the TV series in English when I was watching it at the time was that it was dragging on the Kenshiro versus Shin arc for a good 30 episodes, and I just thought it was a waste of time. I remember thinking, this is just bullshit. I mean, the movie covered this in an hour and a half. I've been watching this for weeks, and I still can't see the end of Kenshiro finding Yuria. And to make matters worse, so I'm going to do a little bit of a spoiler. When he does finally catch up to Yuria in the TV series, it doesn't end well. So I just felt totally unfulfilled. And then to make matters worse, it was cancelled. The English dub was cancelled, and I never got to see the rest of it. So a couple years later, 2003, I saw that they were selling the box sets on eBay. Yes, I got it illegally, people. I'm sorry, whatever. And I got to see the subtitled version, and I bought the whole show. The TV series is broken up into two parts. The second TV series is set a couple of years after the first, maybe more than a couple, maybe 10 years after the first. And I just want to say the original TV series is a masterpiece. I just thought it was amazing. When I got the subs and I started watching where the English dub finished, and after the Shin and Kenshiro arc was done and they moved on into Kenshiro's past with his brothers and this other thing, amazing. TV series was fucking amazing. The character development was much better. Everything was intensified. There was so much drama, so much sorrow, oppression. This anime hits so many notes. The TV series is the whole franchise anyway, and I fell in love with it. And as soon as I watched it, I couldn't believe it was that good. I couldn't believe it was that great. It far surpassed the movie. It surpassed my expectations, and it is one of the greatest anime series I've ever seen. And yeah, I after that I tried to get you to watch it.
Yeah, which I'm not gonna lie was a hard sell.
Yeah, it was a really hard sell.
It wasn't that hard.
It was very hard.
It weren't. Anyway,
it's never that hard from your perspective.
Oh, who knows what you're still talking about that? Okay, fine. Anyway, yeah. So the TV series for me also was phenomenal. It had everything that I wanted in regards to storyline. It really described the world and an apocalyptic world to the T, and there was a lot of sorrow, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief in it as well, but it was explained in a very, 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 very good way. What I will say, because you already, talked about how much you loved it, and I agree with you very much so, but I felt when I was watching it that out of all the characters that had development, Kenshiro wasn't one for me that had the most development. I felt that points he was silent, he was too quiet, and it was too much of a hard shell for me. But then later on, when I actually got to watch what will I say, his movie in a sense, and you get to find out more about him, then it all made sense, and it actually made the TV series even better for me, because I understood where he was coming from and why he was so silent and all that good stuff. So it's just a great TV series. Yes, it's long, but it's not boring, and the elements that are in it are really, really good. Another thing that I would say did, I guess, bother me is that all the characters are drawn very, very similar. All the females are drawn extremely similar. The females at some points have the same body, are drawn very similar to the guys.
I should have mentioned this as well, but I agree with you. The animation for the TV series was made before the movie, and the animation is noticeably worse.
Yeah, so those were the kind of things I didn't like. But it couldn't be forgiven because the storyline is excellent and everything else. So I really, really loved it, and it's the best series I've seen in that genre.
Let me just ask you, why was it such a hard sell? Be honest with me, because a lot of people find the TV series really hard to watch. Was it the animation? Was it the pacing? What made it hard for you to watch? And when did you actually start to get into the TV series?
I think it was a personal thing. Like I said, for me, I watched Fist of North Star when I was really, really young. Even though it got me into anime, and then after that, like I said, Legend of the Overfiend, and then I remember Neon Flux, and then I remember Akira. It all led on to where I am now. But Fist of North Star is one of those things that had a resounding shock factor for me. So for some reason, when you were telling me to watch the series, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go back to all that gore. It was so gory, and it probably had more of that effect because of how I watched it when I was too young. And that's the truth. When I watched it, I was too young. So I didn't want to go back there. It was more a personal thing than something about the animation or blah, blah, blah. Because really and truly, as long as the storyline is good, the animation, to me, if the storyline is excellent, the animation can be forgiven. That's just me. And then when I did start watching it, it was still hard because the animation and the gore and the way the seen heads explode, I don't know what it is, man. It's different. It's really different. Like when you're watching an anime and someone slices off an arm, the arm sliced off, sometimes it looks like a piece of ham or something. You know what I mean? You see the bone, it's like,
But let's be honest though. The animation in the TV series is really poor. So even the violence, it looks kind of silly. You got to be honest about that.
You say that because you like watching horror movies. Like I've seen you sitting down with a bucket of chicken watching some things that I have no freaking idea.
Is this coming from the person that Basilisk is their favorite anime?
But I'm not sitting down watching Basilisk with like my dinner in front of me thinking, that's so great. Yeah. That's great. Oh yeah, just hang that person upside down. Oh yeah, just blow that person up. I'm not. You are. That's my thing. So you sitting there, I've seen you laughing, eating a chicken bone in your mouth, laugh, ha ha ha, so great. While you're seeing someone get sliced into 500 pieces. I'm like, what is this?
The animation, the violence isn't, there's scenes of them heads getting blown up in the TV series. It's colored black. The blood's not even red.
See, you're not listening to me. What I'm saying is, for me, because this is one of the first animes I ever watched, and I was young, I still had those feelings watching the series at the beginning. Do you see what I mean? Whether the blood is flipping red, green or blue, it don't make no bloody difference. Do you see what I mean? To me, when I was watching the first couple of episodes. But as it went on, I got used to it and I was like, okay, you know what I mean? But there were some bits in there, like there's one of your favorite bits where someone shows Kenshiro a grave and says that's where you're going to end up. and this guy's like 3 times the size of this grave, and then Kenshiro beats him to a pulp, and he presses all his pressure points, and the guy fits into that, that grave that he was showing Kenshiro that he was going to fit into. And
yeah, I love that scene. You're damn right I love that scene.
but the way that the body was, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm not saying it's not great. It is great. But I'm saying for me, because of the way that I saw it first and how young I was slightly weary about watching the series. I told you all this before. I don't even know why you're making it a big deal. I was proven wrong.
I'm making it a big deal. You're going on about it. I just
making it a big deal.
I've made it a big deal in the past, but I'm over it now.
Don't make it a big deal.
All I'm saying to you is...
And you're still talking about it.
Still talking about it. I'm trying to move on now. All I'm saying is, as a person who's watched it and enjoyed the series, what can you say to people who felt the same way about you, that were squeamish or whatever about the violence, about the anime?
I'd say just watch it, because it's not as bad as I first remembered it, and the storyline is so flipping good. There was one person that got killed and I was like, yeah, you friggin' deserved it. I was so happy. I think I laughed. You know what I mean? Because I was just like, yeah, what you were doing, you deserved it. So most of the time when you're watching it, it's like what happens to the antagonists are warranted. Do you know what I mean? So it's all in proportion to the storyline, if you ask me. So I would say just go ahead, man. It's really not as bad as even the way that I thought it was. And like I said, the storyline, the character development is absolutely fantastic. And for you to not watch this, you're missing out on something.
I think I would agree with that, but fellas, just a warning, it's a hard sell for ladies. It's a very, very hard
sell. For me, it's not, because I actually gave this to a friend of mine and she was fine with it.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. Point taken. You're just difficult to deal with. You're right. Sorry, I should have said that from the beginning. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about something that me and you both feel really a way about. Let me correct myself, though, on one thing. The first Fist of the North Star TV series is 109 episodes. Now, the first TV series wraps everything up perfectly in my mind. It does. It finishes everything. Everything's nice. The ending is bittersweet, and I thought it was great. So when I had the second box set, Fist of the North Star 2 TV series, which is 43 episodes, I didn't know what they were gonna do. And I have to say, I haven't watched this series the second series in about 7 or 8 years, and I just thought it's one of those times where it feels like they're dragging on the franchise, and where they took the story was kind of pointless to me. But you know what? You watched this second TV series much more recently, maybe a year ago or something. So, I didn't like it. Let me make it simple. I thought it was a waste. Yes, there was the same old action, the same old nice violence, ha 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 ha. But this time, there was no good storyline. So basically, you're watching it for the action. The storyline was dumb. The only thing I really liked about it was the very last episode. They have a really nice kind of memorial thing for all the characters from the first and second series. That was nice. Everything else was kind of silly to me, and I actually don't recommend watching it, to be honest with you, because it doesn't really add anything to the franchise, in my opinion. But what do you think of Fist of the North Star?
I believe that I watched it about 2 years ago. It's so bad. It's whacker than crack. Absolutely terrible. It got to a point where I had to skip episodes, and I really wanted to put it down. I think that it's like the worst thing you can do to such a good series. You already got 100 and odd episodes out of series 1. You really did not need to carry this on in season 2. The animation hadn't improved. In my eyes, it got worse. It's in the future, so some of the characters have grown up. Bart and Lynn. I didn't want to, and I hated what I saw, what happened to them. And then the ending was absolutely terrible. I just hated it. I really was upset with it that they did it that way, and I just had to put it in a box. I wish I could have put it in a box and burnt it and act like I'd never watched it. I wouldn't advise anybody to watch it, because the thing is that, you once again, you might be watching it for the fights, but seiyus are not that great. It's like once you've seen it in 108 or whatever episodes, and the movie, you really kind of understand how that goes now. And if there is no real foundational, great character and storyline development, there's really no point in seeing them somebody just getting beaten up. It was just weird. And then also it kind of put a mockery on everything that happened in season 1 as well, to me, and in a way what Kenshiro was about. And at the end I was kind of questioning, what is the point of him as a hero for this kind of world?
Well, I disagree with that, to be honest with you, because the storyline they try to feed you for this second series is he's continuing on something for one of the characters from the first series and investigating some other land. It's total bullshit. I don't think it hurt his character, because again, Kenshiro was very stoic and quiet. He didn't do anything, he didn't say anything. Nothing in this series affected his life at all. So it just was like a waste of time. I don't think it hurt his character. I just don't think it did anything for it at all.
I believe that it hurt his character because I think that the fact that he was a loner and he didn't accept his actual role of being a master, he just seemed like he was going to wander through the world and that's it. And I don't think that he would ever teach anybody Hokuto Shinken or anything like that. Didn't seem like that was part of what he would ever do. It just seemed like he's their powerful guy, gonna kill some bad guys and move on, and then get the world to sort out their problems, which to me is not what that world needed.
I'll tell you what we're gonna do, because you know what, I kind of see where you're coming from now with that. I still don't agree with what you said, but near the end of the podcast we're gonna have a what do we want more from the franchise, or if they continue the storyline, what do we want, and then we'll go. I'll get back to you on this in that part.
Okay.
But let's move on, because I think what we both agree on is the second series is shit.
Yeah, it's crap.
That we'll both agree on. So the next series is more like a 3-episode OVA, which I'm pretty sure you haven't seen. You won't say you might have forgotten. It's just as bad as the second series. It's called New Fist of the North Star. It was released in 2003. And I was excited, man, because the animation was enhanced and you could just tap this with the second series. It's a side story. It's a bad one. It's really forgettable. It's really terrible. The only good thing about it is the animation. Extremely disappointing. An extreme waste of time. New Fist of the North Star. Not feeling this. It's as simple as that. And you want to say, when I bought the DVD, I might have given it to you in the past. I doubt it, though. Because I don't even think you had seen the TV series. It's just shit anyway. It's basically a continuation of the second series. It's total shit.
Well, thank God I never watched it, because after watching the second series, I really didn't want to watch anymore. I'm not gonna lie.
It's short, but it's only 3 episodes, and it's probably an hour and a half in total. But it's shit. New Fist of the North Star, waste of time. All right. So next on the chopping block is the only Fist of the North Star series that is actually not in the realms of the TV series storyline. Fist of the Blue Sky. This is a prequel to Fist of the North Star, and it was made in 2006 to 2007. This show is weird. This show is about Kenshiro, original protagonist from Fist of the North Star, is the 63rd successor of Hokuto Shinken. This prequel is about the 62nd successor of Hokuto Shinken, which is the person Kenshiro is named after. This character is called Kasumi Kenshiro, and this anime is set in the 1930s. Yeah, it's set in the times of Boardwalk Empire, but it's set in China and Japan. What can I say about this series? What is it about? It's about, this series. I didn't like this series. I didn't like it. Whenever I thought of a Fist of the North Star prequel, I thought of Kenshiro's master, the guys that trained Kenshiro and his brother, Ryuken. I thought of seeing his storyline, him being trained, and why the nuclear disaster happened. That's what I thought a prequel would be. But this series is set 50 or 60 years before that, in the Prohibition times. And this guy is Ryuken's older brother. And the story is just weird. In some ways, it parallels the storyline to Fist of the North Star. I mean, he doesn't get beaten up and left for dead or anything. It's like this gangster story about him helping his gang friends and fighting this other section of Hokuto Shinken. and it's got a love element in it. And I gotta be honest, people, I really thought it was just weak. The only thing I liked about this anime was the character himself. Kasami Kenshiro is a much more rounded off character than the Kenshiro we know from Fist and Star. He's funnier, he's got more of a personality, he's got this whole Clark Kent thing where he acts like a nerd, but he takes off his glasses and he's a fucking arsehole. His character, I liked his character, but the storyline is crap. The anime is lame, it's 26 episodes, not very long. The animation, didn't like the animation, I thought it ranged from poor to good, it wasn't consistent, it's not in English, I don't even think it should get dubbed, and the ending was just silly. The whole thing, this whole anime is just weird, in my opinion. What else can I say? I don't recommend it again. It doesn't really... I think it illuminates a little bit on the fighting style of Hokuto Shinken. Other than that, it's just weird. It's just weird to me. What do you think, Nuance?
I would call this guy, this successor, more of a fun-loving Hokuto Shinken master, in a sense. The 1930s is not the best time for me to watch even sometimes a series or an anime. I find that it's a time when they never get the technology right. Do you see what I mean? So I get very confused, and there's things in some animation that shouldn't be there, and there's things that aren't. You know, Bacano was great, yeah? But this isn't... I really don't like the 1930s when doing it in an anime. It bothers me. It's bothersome in a way. Yeah, this was a mess. It was a mess. Like I said, this Kenshiro Kasami was fun, I guess. He did his own thing. He lived his own life. You never saw him training at all. And he seemed to be a free spirit. Like, he kept on saying, when I was under training... He wanders into the city, I believe, to fight people and get stronger, which to me, I didn't know this was an element of learning the Hokuto Shinken style, just fighting normal people on the road. But anyway, one day he wandered into the city and he was fighting. He got beat up, and this woman found him and nursed him, and it turned out that the woman, who I cannot remember her name right now, who becomes his love interest. Yes, they tried to make a Yuria, did they? Anyway, whatever. She becomes his love interest, and you find out that her brother is the leader of a gang, kind of thing. So Kasumi and his love interest brother become friends, and that's what happens. Then he decides at some point that, he helped the gang out at one point where they were having a big fight with another gang. He helped them out, and he thought that he had saved her brother, blah, blah, blah. And then he went off to China, was it? Or did he go off to Japan?
He was in Japan, pretending to be a teacher. And then he went to China, back to his gang.
Yeah, he went to China. So then he left. Yeah, but first he helped the gang out, thought that they were all sorted, then left to go on more travels by himself in Japan, and then he's got another secret identity as a teacher. So this is ridiculous. Anyway, at some point he realizes that the gang that he felt that he helped had been defeated, and then he decided to go back to Japan or China. Whatever. It was bad. It was really, really bad. It didn't really, to me, seem like anything that really had to do with Hokuto Shinken. Obviously, you see him fighting and stuff, and that was okay, but he never really killed anybody. He never really defeated anybody, in a sense. He was kind of like, oh yeah, I beat you up, that's it now. Go and learn something, go and do something. And that was it. And
the kills were good. The kills were funny. And he didn't use Hokuto Shinken as much as Kenshiro.
Oh my God. He didn't use Hokuto Shinken at all. He used forks and books and bricks, and he never actually used his hands, did he?
Nah, and actually, thank you for bringing this up. One of the things I found actually detestable about the series is they try to make every villain sympathetic to the point where they were just misguided, all of them. Even one villain, which, sorry, spoiler, he actually kills one of the protagonist's sisters, and they still try to spin him off as some kind of character you're meant to feel sorry for.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? terrible.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. And the ending really made no sense. But he doesn't actually become the successor anyway, does he?
He gives it up.
He gives it up. Yeah.
You don't find this out in the anime. You have to actually read the manga to find out. He gives up his succession to Ryuken, who becomes Kenshiro's master, which is just...
So he can just go on about his nice life. And to me, that doesn't actually make sense, because did he break his fists?
Obviously not. I don't. Well, you never hear it. It's just really poor. I don't know what they were thinking with this anime. And, you know, I wrote a review about this anime. I got no likes on my review. And I don't know why people... Honest, this is one of the animes... There's a lot of times where people say, you know what, have your own opinion. This series is shit to me. I don't know why anyone would like this. It's just, you know what, it's not god awful. It just doesn't... I don't know.
Maybe people liked it because it was more lighthearted, I guess.
Yeah, it was different. That's
it was lighthearted in element. There was bits of it that was just... I didn't get... You know, that was just silly. But it was a very gang-orientated series, which I just didn't understand. I didn't really get why this Kenshiro would be in a gang, in a sense, and why he would be okay for the gang to take over the city and stuff, because, you know, they were trying to do this whole thing again about, you know, the strong and the weak and stuff. But then I thought, well, you're in a gang, and this gang is a gang that is taking over the city, so how can you think that's so great?
What he's doing wasn't really good. He was helping gang leaders take over the city, so I kind of like that, but
he wasn't good. He just did what he wanted to do. That's the way that I see it. He didn't... Whatever he felt like doing, he would do. But he did have an affiliation to the gang, and that's why he kept on protecting them and going back for them. But yeah, I will say that I believe that if I hadn't watched Fist of the North Star, even if I hadn't watched Fist of the North Star, I still think it was quite lame. But there was humour. I'm not going to say... There was one scene where he threw a fork into someone's head. It was kind of funny.
The guy made me laugh. Like I said, the main character was actually, you know, worth watching, I guess. And maybe, I don't know, I said to myself, if this guy was Kenshiro in the Fist of the Star series, would I have liked it more? Maybe. I don't know. You know what? Let me not go down that road, because that could be a whole conversation itself. So.
I don't know if you would want to see Kenshiro dressing as somebody else or being a Clark Kent.
He was a heavy smoker too.
He was a bit of a joker. I mean, compared to Fist of the North Star, it was bad. But just leaving it for what it is on its own, I'm still not feeling it. But it weren't god awful.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We went on about that a bit, but you know. It's perplexing why that show was even made, to be honest with you. But anyway. Okay, and you want to say, now that we've left that whole prequel series behind, which was just weird, as we both agreed, at the very last TV series of Fist of the North Star, we're going to jump ahead in time a little bit and jump to 2008, where this new animated series that focuses on one of Kenshiro's brothers. This series is called Legend of the Dark Kings, or Legend of the Dark King. It's focused on Rao, who is the eldest brother out of the four brothers in the Hoto Shinken. And it's a 13 episode series, and it takes place in the original TV series, but instead of following Kenshiro, we're following Rao, and we get to see how he built his army, because at the same time, Kenshiro is probably going on his journey to find Yuria, and in the series you get to see that as well. I'm going to let you talk about this one first, Nuance, because I always go first.
Okay, there's so much to say about this series. Basically, just like Don Wanda said, you're literally following Rao building his army. But when you're watching the Fist of the North Star series and when you're watching the movie, Rao is always there in the background, but seems like he just wants to take over the world, so aggressive, so ruthless. You just don't understand where all that is coming from. But when you get into the series, his own series, you get to have a greater understanding of what he plans to do or what his feelings are, because you get to understand that everybody has their own vision for what should happen now the world has ended in a way. And Rao's vision is that the world needs a king, and he is going to be the king, and he's known as Keno, king of Fist as well. So that's all he's trying to do. So you see him go through the world, in a sense, building his army, making his palace and things like that. And it's really, really interesting. You also get to see that he doesn't do it alone, which is really important, because when you're watching the series and the movie, it just seems like it is just Rao and nobody else. But you get to see that he has 2 captains. I think it's Marina and Soga, I believe. And I think that they are like, you find a little bit of background about them and about his relationship with them. And they are like ride or die with him. Like they feel his vision. They want to just follow him whatever he does. And it's really interesting because you get to see that they don't necessarily agree with the carnage that he brings, but they feel that it is necessary to bring the country to peace in a sense. And there's a lot of sacrifices that are made as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great series. It answers a lot of questions for you as a watcher. The fight scenes are great. Rao is epic. Like, seriously, like, you can understand why they call him King of Fists, because this guy is like crazy powerful. And also, I don't want to talk about. Also, he's another one of Julia's love interests as well. Would you say that love interest? I don't know. He has another affiliation with Julia as well. He wants Julia for himself.
They touched a hell of a lot more of that on the TV series than in this series. Right at the end of this series, out of nowhere, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because he thinks that she's dead.
Yeah.
So he kind of puts her on the back burner. But he has actually, in the series, he has kind of 2 actual love interests, and they both actually say that, he's only got, his heart is for one person, that person's gone, so, no one else can fill it, kind of thing. But yeah, great series, definitely worth watching, definitely amazing.
Yeah, it was dubbed. It was this anime came out at the time where they were revitalizing Fist of the North Star. Like in the 2000s, Fist of the North Star had a lot more releases, like the new Fist of the North Star, like I just said, the prequel we just talked about, and some other shit we're going to talk about in a minute. The thing about this anime that's really different from all the rest, it's the animation style. The animation style in this anime is really weird. It's like it's done by Studio Satellite. I've never heard of them before, and they use a more of an American comic style where Fist of the North Star has the usual character designs are really usual. No matter how different it's been over the years, they look a certain way. In this anime, it's drawn completely different. It looks very comic-y. It's got an American style to it, an American comic style, but it's still great. Still great. But that's the main thing that makes it look very different. Like his hair color is even different.
Oh yeah. That's very right.
Compared to the other.
I forgot about that.
And yeah, like you said, everything you said. The producers are great. This is a great addition to the Fist of the North Star series, giving Rao's character more character development, more depth, showing you how he got his horse, showing you his mindset, showing you how he became the mad tyrant he is. And where it ends, it meshes in with the TV series. It really does complement the TV series.
Yeah.
And yeah,
because the funny, sorry to cut you, but the funny thing is that throughout the TV series, you get to see Rao's always in the background. You see actually that he's around when Kenshiro's having some of his major fights, and you want to know, why is he just standing there? You know what I mean? What's he doing up there? And he explains why you get to see everything from his point of view, how he arrived at this point, what he does about this point, why he doesn't do this, why he does. So, it's really, really great. And we didn't mention that Rao is the oldest. I didn't remember you saying that, but he is literally the oldest, and so he truly does believe that it is his right, and culturally it would be his right to be the successor. So yeah, that's also an element that he does actually mention, or he talks about at some points, and it also brings on to the things that he does in the past that you do see actually in the movie and the series, as well. So yeah, great series.
So alright, and you want to say we're gonna finish this up because we've nearly finished speaking about all the titles. The next batch of releases we're going to talk about we can't go into too much detail about because they're very, very specific. We're going to talk about a new project that was started in 2006 by the original creators of Fist of the North Star, Tetsuya Ohara and Buro Onsen. To commemorate the 25th year anniversary, these two guys decided that they want to reinvigorate the TV series by creating feature-length movies that highlight the best parts of the TV series. This is done exceptionally well, I might add. So they made let's see how many movies they made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 feature-length movies. And I should have named them while I was counting. The Legend of Rao, Death for Love.
Legend of Yuria.
Legend of Yuria. The Legend of Rao Fierce Fighting.
Legend of Toki. Yeah.
That's right. Legend of Kenshiro.
Yeah.
And these cover, obviously, each movie covers a main, well...
That's 5.
Is that 5?
Yeah. No, it's 5. It's 5 movies, not 6.
Yeah, so anyway, these movies reanimate the best parts of the TV series. They go into more detail, and we spoke about the Rao TV series that you just spoke about, Nuance, and this movie even introduces the characters from that TV series in these movies, which is excellent. What can I say? The animation's great. Look, I love the TV series, and these movies just relive the best parts of the TV series, and they do it phenomenally. The animation is amazing, the fighting's amazing, the story's already been amazing in the past, and now it's just even better. And they do add some dimensions, like the Legend of Yuria movie and the Legend of Toki movie give you their perspective of the TV series. Like, you never saw what Toki was up to. Like, we never spoke about Toki because he was omitted from the movie. He's a big part of the TV series, and he's a very sympathetic character. So he gets his own movie. The TV series does him better, to be honest with you. This movie only is kind of supplemental to me, to the whole thing. But this movie does a good job of showing you a lot of his perspective. And the same thing for Yuria. Yuria is another character I feel plays a smaller part in the whole thing. She is somewhat fundamental to the show, but you get to see her perspective in this movie. And the movies are great. If I had to pick out my favourite movies, the 2 Rao movies are excellent, and the final movie, The Legend of Kenshiro, explains fundamental things about Kenshiro's character. It is essential.
Yeah, definitely.
This movie in particular is essential. It fills in one of the biggest plot holes in the whole franchise. So I highly commend them for that. And speaking of the franchise in the whole, I've said it already, all of it's first class. I love them all. They filled in major plot holes. They show you why the series is so amazing. And yeah, it's not been released in English yet. It's not been dubbed. It needs to be dubbed. People need to see this because this shows you how awesome the series is. End the story.
Yeah, I'll just add to that and say that I agree with most of the things that you said, apart from the Legend of Toki. Toki is actually one of my favourite characters, and I think what happens to him in his life is really, really important, because he originally was supposed to be the successor, and due to many different issues, he had to forfeit that. So learning about what he does do with his life and things like that, which is definitely explained a lot in the series 1, but I like what they also do with him in his own little move in his OVA. So I think that was one of my favorites, just because I have a soft spot for Toki and his situation. But like I said, The Legend of Kenshiro, that movie is really, really important because, like I said, I found him slightly stoic and things like that in the series. And when you watch the movie, you kind of understand, you have a better understanding of how he feels and foundationally why his character is the way it is and things like that. But my favorite movie is the Rao movies, because apart from Toki, Rao is just like, he's the man. Just seriously, the man. He really is. The thing is, I really wanted to hate him in a way, because he acts, it's weird, because to me he acts like an antagonist, but then at the end of the day, I feel like if he wasn't the way he is, then Kenshiro wouldn't be who he is. So he's really important, and what he does is really important to the world as it was when he was King of Fist, or he is King of Fist and stuff like that. Yeah, and also you kind of get to see the strength as well of Hokuto Shinken more through him than I feel, I'm sorry, through Kenshiro.
I agree with that. It's like Rao really encapsulates the pure power of Hokuto Shinken, the force, the real power force, where Kenshiro was more like the all-around Goku. You know what I mean? The all-around good guy. But Rao is pure power, pure intense power. So
I think that's because with Kenshiro it feels more like a burden than with Rao it's an acceptance of this is who I am, you know? And that's the reason why he's so powerful to me and stuff like that. But yeah, he's ruthless though. He does something to one of my favorite characters that I'm never gonna forget. There's no way I'm gonna forget that.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's got some moves. He's got some death moves, boy. Unnecessary.
Someone getting fingered might sound sexual for some people, but trust me, for others,
this is a finger you never want. Believe me.
No pleasure there. Boy.
You know, some people act like they want to know. It's a bit of a spoiler, but you know, some people act like they want to know when their life's over.
Yeah.
Like people want to know that. Oh, I'd love to know the day, or blah blah blah. Some foolish people say that. Don't want it to be a surprise. Well, you know, I think Raoul does that for people.
All right, so you know what I'm saying? We've covered basically all the anime releases of Fist of the North Star. And now we're just going to get into some miscellaneous talk about some of the other things, because Fist of the North Star is like a pop culture anime. The movie alone, not even talking, a lot of people haven't seen the TV series, just the movie alone is a part of pop culture to a certain degree. And because of that, there was other releases. Apart from anime, apart from manga, there was other releases. Like, there was a lot of merchandise, which didn't work out. I'll get into that in a minute. But you know what? Let's first talk about some Americanization. Because you know when something's big in Japan, like Dragon Ball movie, Guyver movie, well, guess what? There's a Fist of the North Star movie that was made in America. Wow. I've seen some of this. You can see some of this on YouTube, people. It was made in 1995. It has one or two famous actors in it. You only have to watch the trailer. You know what I'm saying? You haven't watched the movie, but you've seen the trailer, right?
Oh yeah.
Based on what you saw, what do you think of this movie?
I think I would like to use Raoul's one finger move on the creator of the movie.
Damn, that isn't nice.
It's terrible, man. It's just... It reminds me of Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Evolution? Have you seen Dragon Ball Evolution?
I saw the trailer to that too. It looked kind of similar.
Dragon Ball Evolution is on a class of its own. This looks bad, but it actually looks watchable. Dragon Ball Evolution is an atrocity.
If you think that looks watchable, then you better watch it then.
You should watch both of these two and compare the two. I think there'll be no in your mind.
Why should I? I don't like doing things where at the end I'm going to ask for those hours back, knowing I can never get them back.
Let's have a little fun with this. Let's look at this movie list, and people, I know you're probably not interested, but I find it
interested. But yeah, Don One finds it interesting, so we.
The guy who played Kenshiro, the American guy. Let's see this guy, Gary Daniels. Ring a bell?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, let's see some of the films he's done recently. Gary
Why
Daniels.
are you even doing this?
The Rogue, Santa's,
God.
Summer House.
Those are all new movies he's doing, isn't it?
Oh, you know about him then, yeah?
It's just because I looked. I had no choice.
Johnny. All right, you know what? I'm not gonna go into this, but you know what? To his positive or whatever, he was in the first Expendables movie.
Have you seen the first Expendables movie? There was a lot of people in the Expendables movie. How long did a lot of them people last?
Anyway, moving on. Fist of the North Star movie was a fail. On IMDb, it's got a 3.8. It's a piece of shit. Watch the trailer, people, and you'll know it's crap. Moving on, there's been various video games of Fist of the North Star. But you know what? And I got to play the Nintendo one. I'll put links in the description for you to look at some of the games on YouTube. But the most recent game, I think it's called Ken's Rage, actually looks really good. When I went to the anime convention, the Comic-Con in London, they were actually still showing some of it. it's done really, really well. And looking at the fighting and the CG of the animation and even the graphics, it was really good. It looks like they finally got it right, you know? So, and I wish I showed it to you before we started podcasting, but, you know, we were kind of short for time, so, you know.
I'll have a look at it later.
So, you want to say, we're coming to the end of the podcast, really, you know? There's not much more we can say, but I think we'll just have a little bit of conversation about...
Well, we haven't rated it.
We'll go through that as well, but I just want to talk about, just briefly, the effect Fist of the North Star has had on the anime and manga industry in terms of shonen anime, in terms of everything. From what I understand, and Rurikon fan wrote this in the history of his anime blog as well, I think Fist of the North Star was one of the first shonen anime out ever made anyway, and the thing about killing your main characters is that it's really hard to market your characters in terms of merchandise if they're all dying. You know, your favorite character, Ray, so if it's a spoiler, he dies. So just imagine having a toy of him and knowing that he dies very early in the TV series, you know?
It's not early in the TV series, but yeah, he does die. He hangs on though, he really tries.
Hey, that's a whole other thing that they don't have in the movie, but yeah. When you look at other anime, shonen anime, your characters keep coming back from the dead because you don't want to see your main character die.
Indeed.
Obviously, the biggest offender is Dragon Ball. Even though it's worked into the story in a somewhat believable way with the Dragon Balls themselves, having your main characters die and come back or somehow come back for some reason it's just better business, you know. And Fist of the North Star was very unforgiving, you know, and that's something that a lot of series have learned from Fist of the North Star. You need your characters to stay alive.
Yeah, and then someone like Ray, funny enough, he was like from the beginning, and when he did meet his end, I really couldn't believe that he was dead. I really didn't understand why he had to die and that he was dead. I thought it was way too harsh. And yeah, you're right, people did learn from that and it wasn't. And some characters though that we see in the anime did need to bloody die, to tell you the truth. But yeah, in this situation, yeah.
Alright, so why don't we just rate as much anime as we can? But to be honest, I don't it's like, I think a lot of Fist of the North Star is on a first class level. The TV series is in a Hall of Fame level for me. I would have really liked it if the English dub was finished, because the dub was great. The English dub of the TV series and the movie are both very good, and either would have been great in my collection, but I'll probably end up buying this anyway. The box sets are really cheap. The rehash movies are great, but I would buy them. First class, order them, and the Rao series first class as well. Solid B first class, either or. But you know what? I should also mention this. I'm going to write a blog which is going to summarize all of the animes, and I'm even going to give a recommended watching list for the people who are interested.
I think that's a good idea.
I know this was a long podcast, people, and I want to thank you for getting this far. I'm not trying to cut you off, you know what I'm saying? I'm just getting
Sounds like it to me.
I'm just getting all this out now.
Yeah, why don't you let me finish, say what I've got to say before you start saying bye-bye.
Now you can, since you've already interrupted me.
I'm like Michelle, you know, from Destiny's Child or something, the way you do things sometimes. Like, as soon as I start singing, then they just start cutting you off.
There's only two of us, though.
Whatever. Might as well be free the way your character goes on. Anyway, Fist of the North Star movie, I'd give it a Hall of Fame. Reason being is that it's iconic. It started something amazing and it had a major effect on my life. Fist of the North Star Series 1, Hall of Fame, same reasons, and the fact that the storyline is amazing. Series 2, whacker than crack. I'm not feeling it at all. Legend of the Blue Sky? Yeah, whatever. I guess it's watchable. I'd say it's watchable. Legend of the True Savior, all of those, Yoria, Rao, Toki, Kenshiro, I would all give them first class for me, except for Yoria. Maybe I'd give that a solid B. What have I missed out again?
You've only missed out the series you haven't seen, which you don't need to bother, and the Rao series.
Rao series, I'd give that first class.
Okay. So now we're going to end the podcast with a question, you want to say. What would you want from this series if it continued? What more do you want to see from the series if you want it to continue at all?
I don't have anything else I need to see from the series. I think that if it continues, they've already tried to rinse any piece of life left out of it, and I really don't think they should redo it. The only thing I'd say is, could they rehash? The first season is so good. Apart from them dubbing it, I just don't really see the reason why they should even rehash it, like redraw it and stuff. I just think it's fine. I just think they should just leave it alone now. You've done as much as needs to be done, especially with the Legend of the True Savior. I think they've just rounded it all off. There actually is nothing more I need to see. I am 100% fulfilled. I mean, I know I complained about, I didn't like series 2, and I think they should get rid of that. If that never existed, I'd be happy. But even with that, even though I've got problems with it, the way that the character Kenshiro is, there is no way forward.
You did mention you didn't like. We did say we was going to bring it up. You say you didn't like that. You thought that series hurt its character, and I didn't agree with you there. Well, what do you mean? You can spoil that now. Spoiler alert here. Well, what did you mean by that?
I feel that in the series 1 and in the movies and stuff, Kenshiro is like the savior. He's supposed to be the savior that saves the world, and so that they can start. There's a new beginning. Do you see what I mean? And to take away all the bad people or whatever, get some order and things like that. But what happens is when they bring, at the end of series 1, that's what it feels like happens. He's got rid of the bad people. Everybody understands that total power can be horrific, and now they're going to live in a land of peace, yeah? And try and rebuild the world. When series 2 starts and you see everything that happens, and at the ending, it hurt Kenshiro's character, because you realize that no, that's not what's going to happen, because Kenshiro is the kind of person that comes into a town, sweeps through the town, and gets rid of the bad people, but then leaves the town and never comes back. So basically, he's a cleaner. There's gonna be dirt the next day. Do you see what I mean? So it really feels like, and it doesn't seem like he's gonna pass on the skills that he has to anybody else, because of the pain and the anguish that he has from the past. And he says it at the end that there is a stupid little love interest, and he says it at the end that, look, I can't be with no one else. Like, no, that's not my job. My job is to go through the world with my pain, carrying my pain with me and sorting out 1-2 issues, but then just moving through until I die, literally. So to me, it's like, okay, then how are you a savior? Because you're not really bringing peace to the world. You do what you need to do, get rid of a bad person, then you disappear and come back when another bad person comes along.
That's always been his character, though. When was that never his character?
But the thing is, bringing a season 2 along, that brings out that element more, yeah, and shows us really that's who he is. It damages him for me, because the thing is, at the end of series 1, he's got Yuria, they get together and they go off for their period of time. And that makes you feel like, yay, he's won, but you don't feel like he's disappeared and gone from the earth and he's not going to do anything else. Do you see what I mean? Ultimately, you realize that in that world, you do need structure, and you do need someone that's going to stay around and make sure that the world prospers and these people don't come back. But you do and you don't think that in series 1 that Kenshiro is that person who is just going to roll into a town, beat up the bad people and leave and never come back. I didn't get that sense, really. I just felt like he had a goal, and when that goal was done, him and Yuria were going to go back into the world and do exactly what they said they were going to do at the beginning, which is try and heal the world. But ultimately, due to everything he's been through, it turns out that no, that's not his plan. His plans have totally changed. He's got too much pain and hurt and whatever to do any of that. All he's going to do is someone's going to call him, he's going to arrive on his black horse, kill the bad people and leave until more bad people come. He's not going to pass any of that on. He's not going to become a hero. He's not going to stand up for the world as such. He's just a person that comes in, kills back. He's an exterminator, and then he leaves. He doesn't care where the flipping roaches come from, in a sense. And that bothers me.
All right, well, I don't want to get into an argument because we're running out of time. We have to wrap this podcast up, but I will just say everything you're saying I agree with, but it's like that's a fault in the writing of his character, and that's who he's always been to me. And yes, the second series made that very clear, and it was disappointing, but that leads on to my answer to my own question: what more do I want to see from Fist of the North Star in a newer form? I would like to see, I don't need anything else. Like you, I actually don't need any more, but if they're going to take it any further, I don't want to see any more rehashes. The Fist of the North Star story, as we know it, is done. The rehashes were good enough. What I would like to see, if I see any more, is Ken in a Ryokan position. As a master, I might want to see him pick new disciples, and if they want to make a new story with new characters as Ken being a master, I'm interested to see what they will come up with in that kind of direction. I don't want to see Kenshiro. He's done. His story is done. Him being a master and him hiring new people in the world and seeing a new idea with Hokuto Shinken, with new characters, I want to see what the creators could do. They might go down that road in future. I'm interested to see what could happen. Would it be better than Fist of the North Star? Probably not. But I don't know. Basically, I'm looking for a fresh new idea where Kenshiro is the master, new disciples in the same world. Maybe it's another 20 years because he was in his late 40s when that ended. Maybe he's in his 70s now, and that's all I would want. If they're not going to do anything to further the story in a new direction, I'm not interested. That's all I would want from the franchise.
Well, I would say to that if they're going to have it in the same world and it still has the same problems, then I don't see the point. If they're going to have it in a world that's moved on from this element of chaos and has order in it, then yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. But it will have to be a totally new element.
Well, it's building upon our series. So yeah, it will be different. But you can't say it's eradicate everything from the past is eradicated. I'm just saying, yeah, all the problems for the past should be, but there should be new problems.
Yeah.
It's a new series. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be the problem of all disorder. So much disorder. Do you see what I mean?
There's two opposing fighting styles in the anime. There might be bad people with the fighting style. You know what I mean? I don't know what you would expect, but there's going to be conflict. And where's that conflict going to derive?
I don't mind with the two fighting styles. I'm just talking about the world in general.
If they recover from a nuclear holocaust, it could take another 100 years to build society back.
Well, then they can start from 100 years then.
That's what you would want then. But I would like to see in Kenshiro's lifetime, at the end of his lifetime, like I said, when he's a master and he's picking his next successor for Hokuto Shinken, I would like to see maybe that. I don't want to see, if you're talking about the jump into the future, 100 years and a whole, I don't really.
But do you think this Kenshiro could be a master?
I'm interested to see if he could be and what kind of master he would be. If he would, yeah, I'll be interested to see. Could he be a master? I don't see it. But if he decides to pass on Hokuto Shinken, which he never said he wouldn't. He never said he wouldn't. He never said it dies with me. He never said that.
But he didn't say his role was to be. He said more or less, especially in season 2, that his role was not to be family orientated or blah blah blah, but to carry the souls of the people that have been lost through the world.
Well, in terms of real life, the writers can add any storyline to the end of this story, to continue on the franchise anyway.
Indeed, yeah, you're right about that.
So, but anyway, you want to say, I think we've gone on long enough. That's the last quid pro quo for the Fist of the North Star series. It's been over 2 hours and we're running out of time. We've got other stuff to do. People, I want to thank you for listening to this extended special episode of Fist of the North Star. Thank you for Nuance for assisting me in this podcast, which I'm still kind of perplexed that you're on, just because, it's such a manly
whatever. I don't understand why you can't get over this, but you could always fit somebody else in between me, or cut me out if you want.
Like the two-face of anime, as far as I'm concerned. You got this one face that acts, and then you got the other face, the basilisk face.
I beg to differ, to tell you the truth.
Don't need to beg. Anyway, thanks for listening, people.